welcome to my art form.
It's time for Post-Orthodoxy, a show about changing our minds.
Yeah, baby.
With your hosts, Dark and Ainsley Sevier.
Maybe what they believe about reality isn't all of reality.
What?
I know, right?
We're on a mission to have a better time with more people more often.
The question is more how do you get there?
Post-Orthodoxy explores strongly held beliefs, how those belief systems divide or connect people, and what might be found beyond those reality bubbles.
Keep calm. Don't lose your head.
I've got a piece of chocolate here with me because I got anxiety about doing this.
Welcome to this neighborhood, neighbor.
And we're live on the internet, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Welcome to Post-Orthodoxy, everybody.
Happy to be here. We have a new configuration.
Yes, and a new guest. Very exciting. Samantha Brown, thank you for joining us on Post-Orthodoxy. Samantha was a guest on Copacetic Conversations, which is kind of like the mother show of Post-Orthodoxy, back in 2018, 2019, potentially. We did a live show down below the Miners Hotel in Butte, and had a conversation with three lovely ladies from the LGBTQ plus community. And you guys were willing to have like an open conversation about these sorts of topics with Mokai, who, coming from South Africa, really doesn't experience the gay very much at all in the black community in South Africa.
Well, the gay, and especially the trans community, is just not visible in South Africa, where Mokai was. So you guys came in and did a studio show first before we did the 51 Below, didn't you?
Yeah, it was about 3 or 4 days before, and then we did the 51 Below.
Right.
That's right. I remember it was like this whole contingent, kind of. It was awesome. It was like Ezra was there first, and then you and Kira showed up, and it was just like whoosh. Suddenly the studio was just full of good conversations.
Yeah, I appreciated you coming in because Mokai was here doing cultural exchange, and we basically, with our show, he's asking all the questions about things that he doesn't know in a way for Americans who don't know get to pretend like they knew all along as long as somebody else asked the question. So we really appreciated you guys coming in and you folks coming in and answering the questions and not allowing people to be vulnerable enough to ask questions that might be perceived as dumb for people who know more.
Or who have been involved longer.
It's kind of the American stereotype right now that the one thing we're not supposed to do is say, I don't know.
Oh, geez. Right.
And that's like a big taboo.
Oh,
yet
gosh.
that one response can actually gain you the knowledge you need, yet we don't want to use it because of that taboo. It's crazy.
Right. Why don't you know? If you really cared, you would know by now.
Speaking of, we should do our content warning.
Oh, let's do a content warning, and I am going to pull this down so that we can see
your face.
Your face on the screen.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
For folks who are not familiar with the show, who just happened upon the show, we're going to give you a little content warning and viewer discretion. So if you get upset later, it's your own damn fault. The opinions and views expressed on this program are subject to change. Future Dark and Ainsley may not agree with present or past Dark and Ainsley. That's the point of the show. So we're not here so much to pop your reality bubble more than we're really here to just deliver trip reports from our own adventures in traversing various reality bubbles. We're often weighing opposing ideas to challenge our own biases and to revise our pet perspectives. We wish to make it very clear that as we explore ideas that may exist across the socio-psycho chasm from your own, that does not necessarily mean that we are endorsing or condemning those ideas. We are here to revise our worldviews and not reflexively defend them. So this show is not for everyone. We are social extremophiles who are swimming in different waters than most. So if you need to protect your delicate psyche, there's other things on the internet. Welcome to the show.
Someday we're going to find a way to say that doesn't sound horribly condescending.
I kind of like being a little bit.
No, we got to be able to look.
I know.
Not everybody wants to read the tough books or talk about the tough shit, and that's okay.
Well, it might I think in true literary history and in sort of mythical, mystic history, there's always the idea of the monster at the edge of town or the demon at the gate that keeps out the unworthy. Some people don't want to swim in these waters.
Which
and
also
if we
doesn't
scare
mean
them
you're
off-
unworthy.
Kind of, a little bit. A little bit.
You're digging deeper.
It's just trying to. I'm concerned about your safety. That's really what it's at. Some people have problems when they hear
the
new
pearl
information.
clutching.
Yes.
The pearl clutching.
Yes.
Pearl clutching is for real.
Anyway, welcome to the show, brave ones.
Yeah.
Is that better?
We're like I said, we're gonna have to work on that one a little bit.
All right.
Yeah. We like to have extreme conversations about difficult subjects, and we had to start doing that, as you know, because we both grew up in really conservative Christian groups. And in order to start thinking our own thoughts, we had to be willing to set aside all of reality and like go find a new one. And in a time when all of our loved ones were saying, well, if you change your mind about this, 1, you're not going to go to heaven. 2, we'll never talk to you again. And 3, you'll probably get eaten up by monsters out there somewhere.
The wolf's going to come get you.
Mm-hmm.
I could have swore I heard that as a kid.
Yeah, just like that. Eat up by monsters.
Well, I was raised in a very conservative small logging town. You know, my dad worked for the lumber yard. My grandpa worked for the lumber yard. I think my older brother even worked there in the summer.
Oh gosh.
And you know, I remember it was like that.
Yeah.
That if you steer away, you're gonna like burst into flames, and it was quite terrifying, especially when they start telling you you're already there.
You're already gonna burst into flames. Yeah. So how you were part of that church your whole life, or I mean your whole from being born? Sorry.
Yeah, I can't remember when that happened because I think it was already there before I was born.
Yeah.
But it was there pretty much until my family moved to Nevada, Reno.
Okay.
And that was when I was about 10. But before that, yeah, that was everything. I mean, Christmas was at Grandma and Grandpa's with the big tree. Then we had Hanukkah was over at the other grandma's,
to
do that.
Right.
And I think there was one year they were both like intersecting. And that became just a mess because we had to go from this place to this place to this place. And this is the Shasta of Oregon.
Okay.
Mount Shasta, we're talking way up there.
Yeah.
So, you're talking snow, packing up, getting in your coat.
You have to go see the other side of the family.
We watched the Disney movie with, what was that? The Mutual of Omaha back in the day.
Oh my goodness.
That was like the family event. Bed knobs and broomsticks.
Oh, I remember bed knobs and broomsticks.
And so many other, Snow White, the original,
So which side of the family let you watch Disney movies?
The conservative Christian side, the Southern Baptist side.
Oh, but not the Jewish side.
No, actually, that one really didn't care what we watched.
Oh.
See, TV wasn't anything they were afraid of. They were afraid of rock and roll music back then.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
TV was so new; it was a novelty at that point. Really.
Yeah,
we
had our evenings. Like Saturday night, we had Grandpa. He loved wrestling, and especially those ones with the masks. And those were always the bad guys, and then the ones without the masks were the heroes.
Right,
of course.
We always knew to stay 5 feet away from his chair during wrestling because he got animated.
He would swing his arms and stuff.
Oh yeah, he or he'd pick you up and turn you upside down and nugget you or something. He was a great guy, But I did learn later on he was quite abusive to my father and siblings and even my grandmother.
Yeah.
But
it's tough when you have a different experience of the grandparents than your parents did.
Yeah.
Like my experience of my grandma, I know, is much different than my mom's experience of her mom.
We loved when wrestling was over because then we got to watch the Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk, and we got to watch the Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, that was the night, and then we had to go to bed early. She made sure we had a nap every time we did night.
Because that's what children need, and milk.
That's back when television went off the air at a certain hour.
Oh yeah, it went to that little. Well, first...
it just programs and then it's quiet until sunrise, right? Everybody has to go to bed. There's no TV after 11 p.m. or midnight or something, or 1 a.m., depends.
Well, I think some channels were off by 9, But they didn't have that little weird rainbow thing at the end. It just went to static.
Right.
You'd get that rainbow thing for like a minute, maybe two, and then it went just snow.
Right.
And then if you were lucky and you were close enough to a tower, you could get one of the UF stations while holding the rabbit ear in your arm up, while balancing on one foot with the foil. And then you could watch. They had, before MTV, there was music videos.
Really?
Yeah, it was called Night Tracks.
Oh, I remember that.
And that was long before MTV. And they played those. Now, most of them were just people singing or sometimes like a background of a still picture and you hear the music. But
Dionne Warwick would sometimes have a music video on her show. What was her show? It was like...
I think it was the Dionne Warwick show.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I remember on Saturday Night Live they did... Cold as Ice by Foreigner had a music video. No, it was like this new artistic form where we put a little movie to the song that you all know. It was like, what's going on? And then MTV happened and it just changed everything. Yeah.
That's okay. Did you know there's a Daryl and Hote hotline still in operation? You can call and pick one of 4 of their popular songs.
And it's still in operation.
I did it. I saw it on another TV show.
I'm going to look that up right now.
And I actually called the number, and you dial it. It's staticky as all get out. But it still exists.
Oh.
So some things are still out there.
Daryl and Oates hotline. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you're ready for this. 719-26 Oates. And that's OATES. And I put that in our chat.
And you get like a choice of 1 or 4 songs, and and it starts out. Well, here's your emergency Hall & Oates soundtrack.
And then you listen to one of their songs on the phone.
Yeah, push 1 through 4, and they title each number, and you push one.
Because I think you might not have your own record player.
Who is paying for that? Like, how is that even a thing still?
Hall & Oates.
That's amazing.
Wow. They were kind of big.
Can we put a link to that in our comments?
I did. Okay, I did. 719-26.
Everybody should have access to that in times of need.
I think through the pandemic, I saw this on one of those late night shows, I think on HBO. And he pointed that out. And so I was like, and I always watch everything the day after because I do streaming like, most of the country. And so I backed it up and went, okay, and wrote the number down. And then I called it. And I was like, holy cow, this thing works.
Still working.
Several people on Twitch want to know if we want to become famous.
We want to become famous?
No, we don't. They just buy some viewers. We could buy some viewers.
We're already famous.
Well, I don't
know.
I'm already infamous.
That's
famous
right.
would
there
be
we
a
go.
difference.
Famous would be just a little flip of the dial, I suppose.
We have spam bots as our commenters.
Yeah, spam bots. We've never been important enough to have spam bots commenting
before. It shows
before.
that we're already famous with the spam bots.
Yeah, so call and Oates. Call and Oates. Get it.
Call and Oates. That was a good one.
The hotline you don't need but might call anyway.
All right.
For your music emergency.
That's right. It reminds me, what movie did we just watch recently? We just watched Cajillionaire.
Yeah.
Cajillionaire, which was lovely. It had the girl from Mary the Virgin. You know, it was like the TV show about the Catholic girl that, anyway.
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
Jane the Virgin.
Oh.
So the girl from, Mary was Jesus' mother. Who was a virgin. So had the girl from Jane the Virgin and
Evan Rachel Wood.
And Evan Rachel Wood from Westworld. If you saw the new Westworld, she's like the super bitchin', like blonde hair.
Deborah Winger.
I've seen the commercials,
cowgirl.
So I've seen her.
Yeah. So it's the two of them, and the blonde girl is being raised by these like grifter parents who are just using her to run scams on people. They're like, okay, wear the schoolgirl uniform and go in and tell them you found this watch on the sidewalk and see if you can get a cash reward. And so she's like super sheltered, but she has a little flip phone for emergencies. And so when she's really lonely, this is like her only culture. She'll call some company that never answers its hold line and can listen to like a song, like this one song on loop her entire life. She just calls the hold line, and that's how she has music. Because her parents are sheltering her so much.
Wow.
Well, and they're also on the run. They're on the lam. They're grifters.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, I was just thinking of that movie. I'm trying to remember the actor that was in it, but it was Curly Sue.
All right.
That was either Bill Murray or
Curly Sue. That name sounds really familiar.
But it was a cute movie about a grifter and a little girl. And,
Cool. Well, here we are. On Post-Orthodoxy. It's Pride Month.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, Samantha.
Wow, really?
Wow. It's that time of year already. I saw something on Facebook recently that said there's a conflict, like Pride Month might be in June and also October. Have you heard about that? Is that like national versus international or something?
No, actually, I'm not sure exactly what that's about. But one thing that I know, especially up in the Northwest, all the way from San Francisco to Seattle, they try to space their prides out so that people that, I guess, kind of like groupies, pride groupies, can hit all of them. And also, you get better audiences if you're not dividing them and people are traveling.
Having to make choices between one.
You don't want to have all your music festivals on the same weekend.
Right. If you put all the good music on the same weekend, real close to each other, then nobody would make hardly anything.
Right.
No,
that's true. Okay, so they space the Pride festivals out, and then somebody else made the point that, like, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, it's more fun to have a Pride festival where you can dress up and be outside than in June than in October. You know, when it's like cold and rainy.
I love Halloween, and I dress up then too, so I don't know if it's any different. Maybe just thicker clothes.
Right.
Do you have feelings about, I know
Underlayers.
some of the bigger pride parades have started kink shaming. They're like,
what?
No kink stuff in the parade.
Oh, they don't want all the leather to...
The leather and all that, because they're trying to create a more... like accessible,
family-friendly pride.
Okay. History
Excuse
of pride. It started from, of course, the Stonewall riots.
Oh yeah, can we do that for?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
let's
please.
Just do like Pride 101.
I've specifically not Googled Stonewall because it's something that I've heard about, and I'm like, I know it's kind of like the Martin Luther King walk, but for gays.
Okay, and here's a disclaimer for everybody out there. I'm not going verbatim on the history books. I'm just going from memory.
Okay.
I hate when people nail you for that.
I know, right?
It's always weird.
But she said, blah,
well,
blah.
that's why we do our show live, and people can, if they have different points of view, they can say, "Oh, by the way, that was on this date, not that date," and then we could be corrected as we go. So,
yeah.
So
Smarty Pants, you can tell us what the actual facts are.
Pride started from, I should say, the ashes of the Stonewall riots. And I can guarantee they were not in 1969 when the riots happened. It was the year after. It was kind of the anniversary.
Okay.
And it was all about, being equality, freedom. Why don't I have the same thing as you? And vice versa. And why don't you have the same thing as him? And it goes all the way around.
Right.
And in many spectrums, I mean, and every group has their spectrums, For one to say there are no spectrums, it's like, well, what about Christianity? How many are there?
Oh, so many
kinds.
Orthodoxies.
At least 4.
So it started then, and then I think it was probably... Remember the 80s were so loud, but we always made that claim that the 80s had to be that loud to get us away from the styles of the 70s. Yeah, that was our excuse, but we just wanted to do it. So during the 70s and 80s, I think between drugs and, everybody being, with everybody, it became the sexual revolution.
Right.
And it had actually coined itself, and I think Cyndi Lauper was a big part of that back then. The sexual revolution, be who you are, and then it just kind of grew to where now you get both or everything in one. So now you get the history, the political movement, the kink community, the I hate you community, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, my favorite. If you've never met them, go to Seattle and see them. They take pictures with every conservative politician they can find. They're kind of the security. They'll take pictures with them. Mm-hmm. You hold up a bad sign, they're going to come up and kiss you.
Oh, my.
That's how our security is. We don't want to hurt anybody.
Right.
We don't want to shame anybody. We want people to learn that we're just as human as anybody else. We have a lot of the same beliefs even. Just not that one.
Right. So, we have free reign to bounce around between topics.
Okay.
In and out, up and down, around and around the garden is kind of how we do it on Post-Orthodoxy. And so, anything that pops into your mind that you think, oh, and another thing, just go for it. For me, when you're talking...
I'm kind of all over the place that way, so that works.
Yeah.
We call it zooming out and zooming in.
Yeah.
Oh, I call it ADOS.
Yeah.
Attention deficit. Ooh, shiny.
Yes.
And that is not to make fun of anybody with a real thing, because that is a serious condition.
I'm offended now.
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer.
Actually, I was a really hyper child. Actually, it was this second grade teacher who took me, because my parents did not believe in any of the medications.
Or psychology at all, probably.
No, some.
Oh, yeah. My parents was like
when
psychology's all black magic.
Oh, no, psychology?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah, psychology. My dad
I was doing the conversion therapy. That kind of throws that out of the water.
We were Old Testament, like super Old Testament. So like,
yeah, my dad just emailed me the other week, and he's like, your mother and I really don't believe in psychology, but perhaps it would have been a good idea if I'd had you and her go to counseling or something, I'm just like, thanks.
Luckily, psychology doesn't need you to believe in it.
But it believes in you.
Oh, thanks, psychology. So I just read this thread. This is one of the reasons why we're looking for platforms other than Twitter to zoom way, way out, is because Facebook is just a repeater. Content is created other places and then gets reposted on Facebook by somebody who's like, oh, this great YouTube video, or this awesome Twitter thread, or this awesome Reddit story, or whatever it is. Very rarely are there people like writing an essay on Facebook.
Original work on Facebook, yeah.
YouTube, for example, is a huge category in my streaming services.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are getting away from the cable companies these days because of the prices and so forth.
Right.
But at the same token, hi, Comcast Spectrum, we love you. We love your internet.
Please keep working right now.
But with those streaming services, I have to say YouTube's a big one. Like when I have friends over, like through the pandemic, we had our bubbles, right? And our bubble was always the same people. We were always this, but we all became amateur bartenders, which was wonderful. We even bought the big black book of bartending. Now the next time we go to the bar, we're gonna like really confuse the bartender.
Hey, girl.
I want that purple rabbit.
Yeah. Oh, you don't know how to make that? Let me just tell you.
Yeah, can I get the what is that one I want to try? The Psycho Sex Bunny. Yes.
Hey, what's in a Psycho Sex Bunny?
A lot.
Put you on the spot.
That was like one of the ones that I'm not gonna do because I'm gonna have to buy a lot of alcohol.
And then you're not gonna use all those things
unless you really like Psycho Sex
you've never
bunnies.
Been to my house. No, I'm kidding.
Some people have bookshelves.
Actually, I kind of have this little minibar set up now, because of the pandemic,
Right.
But
we were really into the gin and tonics
what was
for
in
a
that?
while.
Like they have the AMFs or the Long Islands. It's as long as one of those.
Oh my goodness.
Or the Scorpion.
Long Island iced tea has 4, and then soda.
I think the AMF has 6 or 7.
Holy cow.
This one had, I think, 5 plus 3 juices and garnish.
Oh my
Lord. And it was blended.
That's crazy.
Long Island iced teas were the things that I did when I was, broke artist in Los Angeles. You start off with the Long Island because it's like twice as much alcohol for the same price for some reason.
Yeah. Well, because it's all...
and then you can cruise down from there.
Well, that's what the AMF is in the Northwest now. I mean, you get one of those.
Does AMF stand for something?
Yeah, I don't know if we're allowed to say it.
You can say it.
You can say it.
Oh, it's adios, motherfucker.
Adios, motherfucker. I appreciate that. I should have told you. We're not on the radio anymore.
So.
Oh, okay. Well, that helps. But we're still going to try to stay somewhat
We
PG.
can't actively do drugs on camera.
Okay, yeah. PG-18.
We can't actively do drugs on camera, and we can't be nude.
Only passively.
Yeah. You could do drugs and then be on camera.
Yeah, there's no login.
Well, yeah, actually, I did see that stoned comedy thing, where they get up and do their set, and then somebody else comes up and does their set, and then it rotates around. But while they're off, before they come up for the next set, they're doing massive amounts of weed, and then they get back up.
So it's way funnier the second time.
Not always.
No.
Sometimes, yes.
Well, it's okay to do with alcohol because alcohol is illegal. So there's a YouTube channel.
Drunk History taught us
Drunk
that.
History, Drunk Cooking.
It's not always better.
Yeah, no.
I tried doing comedy when I did stand-up comedy in LA. I tried it on acid.
Some of the worst haircuts were drunk styling, I call it.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So to bring it all back, I was reading this Twitter thread on Facebook, and it was a girl talking about... or a person talking about being non-binary and basically going through how God made all the things. Right. And I posted it on the Post-Orthodoxy Facebook page. And people are like, well, but he made them male and female, so non-binary isn't real. And this person was going through and talking about like, well, God also made day and night, but then what about sunrises and sunsets? And he's like, God also made heaven and earth, but what about bogs and clouds with rain in them?
And stars and black holes and such.
Yeah, so just talking about like English is really what fails us in being able to understand the breadth of God's creation. And for me, like growing up super Christian, where like all gay is fake and rebellious, to read a person
who's trying to rectify that,
rather than just being like, well, fuck Christianity, like specifically going through the Bible and finding a logical spiritual perspective. Like, no, I really do think God created me this way and he meant to, and we're misinterpreting the Bible.
Okay, so when it comes to the Bible and me,
let's hear it.
We have a thing. Now, I don't
like a
disbelieve,
fun thing.
I don't
Is it
believe.
consensual? Is it consensual?
It's a consensual thing.
Okay, that's fine.
It's kind of your love-hate, you know, and either
So
you love
kinky.
to hate it or you hate to love it. I don't know. Yeah, it's the kink community. I am BDMS with that part. No,
That's right.
Please don't torch me, people. Okay, so here's the thing is, why cherry pick it? If you're going to do it all. I mean, so let's take your grandmother out and stone her because she's wearing clothes of a different cloth. Let's go grab your uncle because he drank too much and looked at a girl while married.
Right.
I mean, if we're going to take it, let's take it all. Of course, then none of us can apply.
Nobody can apply.
I posted something on Post-Orthodoxy just before this show, which is just because it looks beautiful, and I like it when people put work into charts and stuff.
Oh gosh, I love charts.
And there's this.
I'm a visual learner for sure.
I'm gonna click on this, and it's called Bible Contradictions, an interactive resource to explore Bible contradictions, cruelty, and other detrimental aspects of the Bible.
Let me go get my laptop, and we can put it up on the screen.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna click the link and put it in our comment section here.
That's a pretty picture. I don't know about the rest of it, but that picture was gorgeous.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. I think I did something with those old spirographs.
Right. It looks like that. So the idea of our show, if you're not on the Post-Orthodoxy Facebook page, I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but it is the platform du jour. It's where everybody I know is mostly. So we use it, and we're launching our own website. We are also on YouTube. We're also on Twitch, but Facebook is the easiest portal through which to find out what's going on our other platforms. For now, yeah, exactly. So I lost my Facebook page. So yeah, I'm going to post a link to the Bible Contradictions page. And I haven't looked at it yet. I just started poking around, but I posted it mainly so I could go check back up on it later. Maybe folks can look at it and give us some feedback on it. Joshua Michael says hello.
Hello, Joshua Michael.
So yeah, if we were to actually take everything in the Bible, then every politician is guilty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. Because see, it is easier to fit a camel through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get to heaven.
Oh,
no,
Romans.
I do make capitalistic Christians they have to put on their banker hat, and they must often necessarily take off the Christian hat to put the banker hat on because it doesn't. I have a hard time rectifying capitalism with Christianity.
I do too.
So I always find it interesting that people who are big capitalists also use the Jesus bludgeon on people who they don't like. It really doesn't make much sense to me. But
I had both an aunt and a grandmother watch those televangelists, and they donated a lot of money to them. And when they got sick or their husbands got sick or anything went wrong, I remember they wrote letters to those very people that they had been donating lots of money for years for.
Yeah.
You know what they got back?
Zippo.
Oh, a plastic pen with gold writing on it.
Oh my goodness.
And I just shook my head like, it goes with that math problem we have. We have 227,000 churches in this country.
Uh-huh.
And we have 400,000 homeless.
Right.
See the math problem?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I thought they were social organizations set there for the people.
Right.
How do you feel about churches being tax-free?
Well, sure. Stay out of politics.
Thank you.
But
and stay out of buying up entire towns.
Right. Well,
stay out of real estate. Stay out of the commercial side, and stay in your religious lane. And I think you shouldn't have to pay a dime. But you start reaching out to those other lanes and those televangelists flying around in those billion-dollar jets with billion-dollar houses and limos and drivers and staff to clean up their behind every time they take a poop. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't see the connection there. I see a great big delusional disconnect there.
Absolutely.
By the way, for the Christians that are watching the show, we often have to say hashtag not all Christians in all of our shows because I am not anti-Christian.
No, I didn't either.
I'm not a big fan of hypocrisy. I think we should all be growing and exploring and learning. And I think Christianity has some powerful tools for how to have a better life.
Yeah.
However, I am also the first one to criticize when there's harm being caused by some of these people that are using Christianity. So this thing about Bible contradictions, this should have been one of our Post-Orthodoxy road shows, is where we had this long conversation on the way to meet her parents in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Which I didn't get until he pointed it out to me.
So I went...
Like Lynch, Ainsley.
Yes, right.
Lynchburg?
Yes.
And I'm like...
Which, by the way, Lynchburg was named after this guy Lynch that had a ferry. And and he freed all his slaves, actually, when he died.
A ferry? So, that's what they used to call me.
Right? I don't...
Is that derogatory?
I think he freed the ferry, too. I don't know.
Okay. For some of us older ones, we weren't known as transgender back then.
No.
We weren't drag queens because we didn't perform. We and we
drag
were
queens
what we
were just the showbiz.
So we were the fairies, and it wasn't
time for
bad or good. It just was.
Yeah.
And so, oddly enough, you read my name yesterday. My middle name is LaFay, French for fairy.
Oh.
And it's something that I take as a badge of honor, where others might take offense. And so I would stay with more of the correct terms of today rather than listening to an old girl here that's like, I don't care.
Right. Well, I think that's an important point, is that everybody's having a different experience. And is it okay with you, at least in this conversation, if I just use the word gay instead of LGBTQ plus every time I want to reference like the LGBT?
You don't want to do the LGBTQIAP?
LGBTQIAP.
So is it offensive? So I have friends of mine that are
Is there any shorter word for like when I'm saying it over and over and again in a conversation?
Right. We talked about this on the show on Monday. Like, I'm not being critical of the movement or the people of the movement, but when you have to say, as people who like to criticize the movement call it the alphabet group.
Oh my gosh.
Because letters keep getting added, blah, blah, blah. I think there's a valid point to that in terms of ease of communicating and being an ally to.
There's history there.
Do the whole thing again, slower.
LGBTQIAP.
Okay, can't we just come up with like a name? Like some like
a boom boom?
Rainbow Coalition. did they try that or something? I don't know.
Well, actually, I would. Okay, I'm not speaking for everybody.
For the
else.
entire
of course,
movement,
but for our purposes, it does not bother me if you say the rainbow community.
Oh.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. No,
I think that's more inclusive.
But that pisses off the Christians because we stole the rainbow from God.
Did we?
That's what it said. That's what somebody said.
Well, the question I would ask them is, what came first, dinosaurs or electricity?
I like the idea of stealing a rainbow from God because that's quite a heist. I mean you should get a.
Yeah, but I'm trying to picture a dinosaur actually believing in some omnipotent man-looking being.
Right.
Don't you know that the dinosaur bones were put there to test the faith of the Christians?
Oh my goodness, guys!
Huh?
We're gonna.
Is that a thing?
That's
a
thing. That's a thing. A lot of
That's a thing.
In a 10,000-year-old world, yeah, that's a thing.
What? It's only 10,000 now?
She was raised that way.
Wait a minute, I'm Jewish. Our history goes back further than that.
Does it? Written, though?
Yeah, that's why you guys are fakers.
I don't think it goes back further than 10,000 years.
Actually, I think the Egyptians are dated at 14,000 now.
Yeah, but that's the Egyptians. That's not like
right
God's
about the same.
community.
I think we are out there right around 11 or 12,000 now.
Okay.
We're one of the older ones. Maybe that's why they pick on us. I don't know. I'm half French, half Jewish, which makes me also confused most of the time.
Right.
You know, I try not to pin to one religion. I do love Christianity. One of my favorite stories, by the way, the feeding of the 5,000.
Yeah.
If there's an incredible inspirational story, and then what he asked them afterward, when they all had a chance to ask a question, they all wanted to ask a question, and he came in and answered all their questions with one simple statement. And they said, oh, well, how about my mother's alien, or how about this, or how about my neighbor's taking over my land, or how about this guy's charging me too much, or how about this guy just stepped on my toe, you know what I mean? They had all the questions from all the ranges, right? But all of a sudden he came out and he goes, I can answer all your questions. They all started talking. He goes, no, I know what your questions are. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Wow. I think we could learn something there.
Therein lies all the law and the prophets.
I can grok on that one. I don't know about the whole feeding 5,000 people with a loaf of bread. I don't know what the metaphor is there. I don't believe it.
Actually,
it wasn't a metaphor. It really happened.
Actually, if you read the whole story, people came and brought the little bits they had and put it together, and they made this gigantic meal to feed.
He didn't just go like, cling.
No,
Turn water to wine.
It was not magic bread.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
No. Now, there might have been magic mushrooms back then, but not magic bread.
I mean,
think that's what it was.
LSD
frankly.
came from magic bread.
I think it was the ergot mold
the
on
prophetic
the rye bread.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what LSD is derived from.
All right. Do any of you guys know Carrie Jimenez?
Oh, yeah, Ed Jimenez, actually.
Jimenez. I figured I was going to butcher it.
Yes, her family is a derivative of Spain.
Oh, la la. That's where the X comes in. You don't see a lot of Latin names with the X in them. Hello, Carrie. She says hello, everyone.
Oh, hello.
All right, can we go back to the 101 with the Stonewall thing?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so where were we with that?
Well, we're talking about the history, like
what was Stonewall?
Pride 101.
Okay,
yeah,
so
what was Stonewall? Start there.
What was Stonewall?
Yeah,
okay.
some people don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so
like a
what
lot
would
of people.
happen,
like you.
and this happened all the way into the early, probably late 80s, early 90s, depending on what part of the country you're in. We'd be there in our bar doing our thing.
The Stonewall was the bar.
Yeah, Stonewall's a bar. It's actually
I'm
not
just for
yeah,
some
it's
people
not
don't
an
know.
actual organization. It's a bar.
It was a bar.
And that's where we all went.
I thought it was just a name for the riots.
It was a gay bar.
No.
Okay.
That's where
It was
the
an
riot
LGBTQ
started from.
RR plus
It was a rainbow community bar.
AARP.
Yeah. It was, well, quite simply, it was a gay bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's where all of us went and hung out and everything. And so what had happened is the police would come in force, probably 10, 20 at a time. They would be carrying like 2x4s and baseball bats and even their billy clubs, and they come in and rough everybody up. And some of them would disappear for a week or two, and then we'd see them a week or two later, and of course buy them a drink, and we'd all vent about how. And when would it happen? Who knows? Anytime.
Yeah.
It was random. It happened all the time. And then, like, say there was somebody trying to beat you up. Like, outside of the bar. Say you're walking down the street and somebody comes up to try to beat you up, like during the fag bashings and the skinheads and the stuff like that.
Right.
And they come up to beat you up. You called the cops. The fear was, and 9 times out of 10 they were right, the cop would come there and join them to help beat you up. You know, there is the biggest gang in this country are the police. I hate to say it, but they always have been. And in New York, they knew it back then.
Yeah.
The rest of the country's just learning it now.
Yes.
Oh, I think there's also a difference, just to be devil's advocate, there's a difference between metropolitan police in larger cities and smaller towns.
Oh, yes.
There's a
big time.
So, like, I was
Your
a little
best friend's
rankled.
uncle.
I was a little rankled by the all cops are bad thing because I know a lot of people that resonates with them, but that's if your experience, like I lived in Los Angeles, I was afraid of all the cops.
I don't blame you.
But I'm not afraid of the cops in Butte, Montana.
I've been to LA. I know
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
But no, actually, I've met quite a few of the cops here. They're really nice. I even had a sheriff pull me over one day because my front plate was missing, and he was really nice. So, gave me and fixed it. I had to go get another
They don't
set of
just slap
plates,
you with
but-
a fine.
So I would be careful about phrases.
He was very polite.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would be careful of saying all cops are the biggest gang.
All
I'm talking in all big cities.
Right. The big cities.
They seem. I won't say we are, but they seem to be the biggest gang.
I've had direct experience of that in big cities.
And I think
Honolulu, Los Angeles. I've had the experience of the cops being a
Honolulu,
gang.
really?
Yeah.
That was one place I thought would be kind of like small cop.
It's tribal. It's a very tribal place. Like, there's no majority the whites aren't the majority, the Hawaiians aren't the majority, the Chinese aren't the majority. So it's very tribal. And within organizations, there's a lot of nepotism, and there's a lot of what do you call that when it's very tribal. So people take care of their own.
So almost xenophobic outside their own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So within the police force, there are cliques, and those cliques sort of there's some corruption going on. I can say that because I don't live in Honolulu anymore.
The only reason it surprised me is out of all the travels I've done, and I've done quite a bit, I still have a bucket list even. Out of all the traveling I've done, I still have a bucket list. I have not seen the Northern Lights of Alaska, and I have not been to Hawaiian Islands.
Oh, come on.
And I'm going to do that one of these I'd say days, but maybe years.
That's right.
But it'll happen. It will happen, especially the Northern Lights. I really want to see that one, and I heard the one in the winter's better.
Bigger, probably because everything's a little clearer.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's hope they stick around. I don't know. These days, it's hard to say what's.
You might not be able to see them past Elon's
So anyway,
satellites after a
back
while.
to the history.
Yeah, I'll be a cop. There was bashing going on outside the Stonewall bar.
No, well, you mean they come in? No, they came
Inside,
destroyed
inside,
everything.
outside, all around. And why? So I think for people who are younger and don't know the full history, they're like, "How could that happen?" And I think it's important to sort of put the...
How could it happen?
Yeah,
because
how could...
we were not considered Americans. We were not considered human.
Right.
Period.
Right.
I served my country. I served my community. Ask me how many rights I have. Yeah, don't ask. I still fight today for that same thing. This is how my country prepaid me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think a lot of people don't... I think in... why we're talking about Pride Month and why that is a thing, I think there's a lot of people who have been raised in the fruits of the kind of work that you've done, so that they're not actually aware of what happened to get the movement to this point. In terms of how, because the way I was raised was really, it was the same thing. Gays are basically, might as well be demon possessed. And so there is you have full license to suppress the demon. That means beating them up. That means killing them. There were pockets where I grew up where that was still totally rational in their world.
Much like it had been a few decades previous with minorities.
You could look at vaudeville even, Victor Victoria.
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
it was a movie. It's a movie.
It's based off of a vaudeville performance. Oh my God, you gotta watch.
I need an education. I did grow up under a rock.
It had one, didn't? I think it's a Best Picture one
I think it was an Oscar.
It's
Add
one of the
that
best
to my
pictures.
notes.
But anyhow, so then that would happen. Okay, so we also didn't have any resources. We didn't have anything. I mean, really, what we had was the little bit we could scrounge up, pull together, do together, and if we were lucky, we could hide it so we could keep a job or have a job or get a job. You know,
hide the gay.
Hide the gay or hide whatever you are or pass so well nobody ever knew. Right. And back then I was a teenager, so yeah.
Right.
Anyway, you know, those hormones didn't quite kick in yet. So,
you had a little window.
There is a time, you know, I'd say when kids are little that they actually look the same. You know, physically, everything. They even play the same. And it's not until later when those hormones kick in that changes. But anyway, so there was the bashings, you know, and it wasn't just from cops or white supremacists or any other group that decided you weren't worthy, which it could be plenty of different groups. And then that would happen. So all of a sudden, what had basically happened is we got sick of it. We got tired of it. People were being hurt and killed even. They were messing up our own little, we had our own little corner. Why couldn't we just have our own little one corner? And yet they messed that up too. We were staying out of their way. They'd mess it up. We weren't hurting anybody. We weren't bothering anybody. We weren't going out and trying to find somebody. No. We all knew where it was. We all went there. You know, those that knew it. Those that didn't, well, it's not like we talked about it. Right. It was a bar. And, you know, no windows, you know, probably, you know, I don't even remember. I think the door was solid. Right. You know,
so it's not like somebody was offended when they looked in the bar.
No,
because you couldn't see.
It just had Stonewall on it. It didn't
Right.
even light up. I mean, I think there was a light on it, but there's no neon or anything. And so we just got sick of it. And we were basically pushed to the point, and we had gathered there, and it blew up. We had enough.
Can you talk about how it blew up? What was that like? What is it? What do you mean by blew up? What was there an inciting incident?
Well, you want to see a video of what it was probably closest to? We just saw it with George Floyd. When Minneapolis just blew up.
Right.
You know, and people are like, oh, why would you set fire to your own town? What own town? It's not mine. I don't own anything here.
Right, no stake. They got no stake in the town.
We got no stake in nothing. You made sure to push us down. So anyway, I wasn't there for this. So I'm just telling you the history. So, we go forward, and unfortunately, we damaged businesses. We hurt people. We damaged cars. We caused kind of a blackout. We went nuts. We were angry, and that anger finally built up to where it had to go somewhere. And it went out into the streets. The whole neighborhood, hell, most of the day. And then other towns like the Village blew up. And then other cities even had some small instances at that same time. We did have telephones in them. And there were some small skirmishes in places like Chicago and LA. But the biggest blow up of all, that was New York. That was the big blow up. And I believe it lasted, from my understanding, 3 days. Isn't that how long the George Floyd one actually went on?
Oh, I don't know.
To Minneapolis?
Yeah, it takes a while for that fire to burn out.
Well, I was in Los Angeles for the effects of the Rodney King verdict.
I was there too.
Yeah.
I was in West Hollywood.
And that was 3 days for sure, where it was, buildings were still burning 3 days later. Yeah.
Right, but it was calming down at that point.
Right.
You know, you had Reginald Denny and him getting up going, can't we all just get along? And, you know, everybody go. But, so, it finally calmed down. You know, cops couldn't do anything about it. When a blow up like that happens, it's not just the ones that were wronged. It catches fire in the hearts of those around it, too.
Who have compassion for the struggle.
Or
for the abuse.
The opportunist to maybe steal something.
Oh yeah, right.
That happens.
Of course.
It doesn't mean
that happened
we
in
did
LA
all
with after Rodney King. Is that every electronics store was robbed, and it wasn't.
But that
wasn't
fire
a civil
had
rights
to burn out.
act.
It doesn't mean that the riots are wrong or that the abuse shouldn't be shouted.
Right.
Right, and I did love how, you know, a lot of corporate media kept showing the same pictures for the Black Lives Matter movement, which had nothing to do with that.
Right.
It actually two separate things, even though one was born out of the ashes of the other, just like our movement was born out of the ashes of Stonewall. Pride was born out of the ashes of Stonewall. So, fast forward 20 years, you know, I'm in New York now. Okay. And we had the same thing going on. The police would come in, rough us up. We had the gay bashings. Make sure you always walk in pairs or more because you could get killed. Great movie, by the way. If you want to see Matthew Broderick's first role, Torch Song Trilogy.
Right.
Checking it out.
Amazing movie. Actually covers pieces of that in the beginning. And Matthew Broderick's the one who got killed by the fag bashings. And
spoiler,
but
come on.
Wait till you see his kiss. You'd be surprised he married.
Oh.
There's something to see. Oh, and there's some funny lines now. But anyway, but as serious as we make things, I don't know if you noticed, we use humor to hide behind too.
Yeah.
Right.
Because otherwise, that fire.
Humor can soften, and then humor can also dampen, depending on, you know, what
it's like when somebody says something awful and you laugh, and they're like, why are you laughing? You're like, I'm so sorry, it was hysterics. I don't know why I was laughing.
Yeah.
It just happened.
That's so bad, I can't help it.
I know, and I'm very punny that way. But, so, it was still happening, even after those riots. Do the pride? Man, sometimes, you know, you want to celebrate after that parade. would get broken up.
Mm-hmm.
Either by the cops or by someone. Now, because of Stonewall, we were put on the terrorist watch list for 20 years.
Oh my
I
goodness!
wanted to ask
we
about
being the whole rainbow community.
The people who organized the parade.
Well, it was called the gay movement, and the media at the time called it the gay fascist movement. Not that there's anything fascist about us.
I see.
But we were the
I
gay
appreciate
Well, there were
this,
those
'cause I
images of the guys dressed up in the Nazi hats with the leather, which didn't help the.
Well, kink.
Yeah.
But again,
that just takes a lot of explaining.
Well, how do you get things changed? Numbers.
Right.
So if you need to bring in a kink community because they're kind of like you anyway, just
you need the numbers, right?
You need the numbers,
right?
But at the same token, we do love all our partners in the LGBTQIAPP. Anyway, okay. So a question I did see from Monday show.
Yes.
And I did want to answer Axel's question here. If you're listening to Axel, the Q is both questioning and queer. It's both in one.
Fantastic.
Just like the P is both pan and poly. There's a so
okay.
If we kept adding letters, like I said, LGBTQIAPP.
Yeah, it's
right.
It's unwieldy.
Right.
Yeah, we might as well be a NASDAQ stock report or something.
Right. Right.
All of us. And you heard my argument to Dark when he was like, "Don't you think this is a bit much?" And I'm like, "Look, it's kind of like after decades and decades of being misnamed and abused, you kind of want to have your name out there. Like, you kind of feel like,
but you want a name that people can say."
Okay, so
that's my point.
There were some therapists, psychologists, colleges, Cambridge type stuff that was coming out at the time. Okay, and there were some innovators at the time, and they did recognize us as a gender dysphoria, which in turn became transgender.
Right.
And then
it was originally recognized as
but like I said, for the longest time, I was just a fairy.
Right.
And so, people even our own community didn't know those names. We knew what we were.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a title for it. Dysphoria? No, I knew what I was.
Do you feel, nowadays, how do you feel nowadays, and this is kind of touching on one of those things that you're just never really supposed to talk about, like Palestine or 9/11. Do you feel like how do I say this? There is
straight out
more, do you feel like there are more people struggling? Oh, that's not even the right way to say it either. Oh my God, this is really hard.
Just blurt it out and we'll edit.
Okay, we'll fix it later. Do you feel like there are more kids struggling with being trans than there used to be? Or do you feel like it's just more acceptable to work through whatever your confusions about your gender are?
Okay. I have two brothers.
Okay.
One's 4 years older, and one's an identical twin.
Oh.
When I was going through my issues.
Yeah. Struggling.
Or as they said, my issues.
Right.
Yeah.
My tendencies.
That
I was put into conversion therapy for.
Aye.
After that, everything did change. I don't mean I did. I mean, everybody else changed because my brothers in school made make sure everybody know what kind of freak I was. My mom, very distant, and I was permanent. I was perma-grounded. I was the Snow White in that one. I was doing all the chores and stuff because otherwise I had nothing to do anyway.
Right.
So I didn't mind doing all the chores because I had nothing to do.
Well, if you want to be a girl, then you can just do all the housework. Is that what your mom sounded like?
Oh yeah, and no, not quite. But my favorite part of the evening was when Dad was home. He became a chef, a Michelin star chef at that.
Oh.
But he'd come home and he'd bring me into the kitchen because I cleaned the kitchen. And he showed me how to cook. First two things I learned how to make was mayonnaise and Thousand Island dressing.
Sauces are not the easiest thing.
Yeah, well, especially whipping that egg white. There's a technique in the rest, so it doesn't get so tiring. Because if you use your arm, oh my God, I tried that as a kid, and it would never whip.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I didn't have friends. Everybody knew what kind of freak I was. Beat up after school, regularly or running. I became a track runner in middle school.
Oh my goodness.
I was fast.
It's a skill to learn.
And the mile at that, I would lap them.
Oh gosh.
I mean, I was a long distance fast runner. Because you can't just outrun them. You got to outrun them for blocks before you can walk.
Right.
Because that adrenaline, you can't just stop right away. They might catch up to you. Or if you stop too soon, they could grab you. I've had that happen too many times. And they bruise you up a little. You go home, and what did mom do? Oh, you're dirty. Go clean yourself up and get those dishes done, and stuff like that. I can't say that was the actual verbiage, but that's what it was.
It was the tone. It wasn't like, oh my God, who did this to you? Let me cut them.
So here's the theory on that.
What moms should be
so my
saying.
experience may not be the same as others,
Right.
obviously. So before, it was hard. Because you didn't know what you were, they didn't know what you were, and as humans, we push away what we don't understand. We fear it, we're scared of it. It's like the first time you see a stove and you put your finger on it as a little kid, you don't do it again. But when new strange things happen, we kind of recoil from it, as to the moth of the flame.
It's like a primal protective instinct when you encounter new information. This is something we talk about all the time.
It's the amygdala issue, the amygdala hijack. The hindbrain.
But I have to say, there was a period there. Unfortunately, I was recovering for a large part of that period, with some back surgeries that I had, getting better. But
back surgeries from being beat up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just to clarify. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's beat up by 3 Christian bikers that thought I didn't deserve to live. I woke up 7 days later in a hospital with a broken spine, rib, wrist, ankle. Most of my teeth were kicked in. Most of my hair was ripped out. And I used to have hair like all the way down to my butt. This curly hair at that.
Yeah.
And of course, sandy blonde, And I remember, when I got out of the hospital and I was in that wheelchair and I went to my hairdresser that I always went to. And I called her in on a Sunday. And she goes, I don't work on Sunday. You know that. And I said, please just meet me there.
Yeah.
I needed her to shave the rest off because it was just this ugly patchwork and scarring. And she showed up and saw me. And I think her reaction was harder on me than what I was going through. Yeah. And having others, in that wheelchair, they give you that look. That was the hardest part. Everywhere I went, I became a hermit for like 9 years. Man, I moved to the Offutt Lake in Tenino, Washington. It's outside of Tumwater and Olympia. And I became like a hermit. And I went at like 430 pounds at one point.
Oh my gosh.
And the doctor wouldn't give me an electric scooter because he said, I need you to get some exercise.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go anywhere. So
I'm not going anywhere then. Yes.
And it was just, it's kind of like it was kind of like 2020. One big long blur.
Yeah.
But yet, very long, yet just quick, because not a lot happened. Just a lot of surgeries, a lot of doctors. Yeah. I had a collection of DVDs and TV series that, I think I ended at like 3,000. Entire series, and I loved MMA. I loved watching it because I was like, I got to learn how to fight.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'm not bad on my feet. It just, any more, 2 or more. Can't do it now. My age, forget even 1. But I'm not looking for a fight.
Yeah.
If I had to fight, it was to fight to run away.
Yeah, defensively.
And it just and that was the 9th time I was hospitalized. All because I was willing and got the education to fight the fight. For some reason, that scared them.
Do you feel as though the people that abused you did it because they knew you were an activist?
Yes,
or
they did.
Okay, because I know a lot of the time, like, what is it?
Their patches on their
what's it
jackets,
called? Like
they were 3 bikers. Their patches
homosexual
were Christian
fear,
angels.
gay fear. What's it called? What's it called? That's still legal in like half the states where you can claim you were afraid of somebody because they're gay, and that makes it okay for you to hit them.
Oh, I can't remember the term of that one.
Like gay fear or like.
Well, they use it as a defense to
Right.
get off charges.
Right,
And
like I beat this person up, but it's okay.
California was the first to get rid of that defense.
Right, it's okay because their gayness scared me so much I had to beat them up. Like that's still legal in like 19 states.
So his blackness scared me so much I had to beat him up. How is that any different?
It's also bad.
But the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The same excuse.
We just got that from KBMF. We went to go ask them some questions about why they're not communicating with us about kicking us off, and they told the police they couldn't leave the radio station because they were afraid because we were outside.
And it's like,
They said they said that they feared for themselves because we were outside, so they needed to call the police on us.
Yeah. So awkward.
Yeah, so scary. Anyway, I'm sorry. Can I make a comment? You look so much like young Howie Mandel.
Howie Mandel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you kind of. I mean, not fully, but there's some of that there, and I'm wondering if maybe they were scared of the Howie.
No, they were just scared of having to answer for their actions. You know, accountability is really terrifying.
Oh, accountability? No, don't ever do that.
I don't want to talk about it.
Lie, cheat, steal, and murder, but don't be accountable.
Don't make me explain myself.
But I appreciate you going into the details of saying, not just saying my back problems. I think it's important for people to understand that it wasn't just some chronic back problem from sitting on a couch.
It was chronic, all right.
Yeah. But it's a part of the larger story.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to cut you off from where you were going, but I think it's important for people to understand.
So where was I going with that?
Well, I had originally asked you if you felt like there were more kids. Poorly worded question. Do you feel like there are more kids? Because I know so many kids.
With it being in the media right now, so upfront. I mean, 36 states have bills right now to ban transgenders from athletes or from athletics. Mm-hmm. And the problem is there's no proof. It's the same exact argument they used for the SB1 bill to ban transgenders from bathrooms in North Carolina. They were afraid we were going to go into a bathroom and hurt some girl or woman. Mm-hmm. Yet there's nowhere in history that's ever happened.
Right, the evidence.
I saw the best meme for this that finally explained for me, like, what's the response when somebody's like, well, we can't have, transgender people going into the quote-unquote wrong bathroom because they might molest girls. And it's like, okay, if you're worried that a man is going to dress up as a woman to sneak into the women's restroom to abuse girls and women, you are still worried about abusive, predatory men. You're not actually talking about a trans woman.
Right.
Like, if your fear is if we make it okay for a woman to go into a woman's restroom because a man will dress up as a woman and sneak in and abuse people, you're still talking about predatory men.
But this athletics law that they're passing has the exact same information behind it.
Yeah.
None. Mm-hmm. There's no proof of it happening. Actually, they've proven transgenders have been competing in the Olympics for some time now, and they have not been winning. Okay, that just killed your proof, guys. Okay, not one is actually one even medaled.
Did you see the South Park episode where they did it was like a professional wrestler just decided to say he was trans and didn't really do anything.
That must have been later season.
It's pretty new. It's pretty new.
I haven't watched that show in some time.
It's offensive to everybody. I like it because of that. I do like there's no sacred cow on that show.
That's why I liked Ren and Stimpy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, right.
Where Joel's downstairs and has no parents and kills the neighbor's cat. The Ren and Stimpy show. Sorry, yeah, I watched it a lot.
So I have another question.
So real quick to finish that one. With the media coverage right now and all these states attacking kids, I have to feel that they feel very alone right now, that they're very intimidated right now. And I, for one, want to say, we're here. We're trying. It's a long road. Be strong. Suicide is not the answer. You know what? Pick up that phone, call that suicide hotline if you do feel like you're there. We one thing we were able to create about 12 years ago with that hotline. And they are understanding.
Is that the Trevor Project? You're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the 800 National Suicide Hotline.
I'll pull that up too.
It was a big part of us to help put that there.
Really? I had no idea.
Who is us?
Us, it was the Obama administration, the LGBTQ, the HRC, the NAACP, the Veterans Affairs. We all came together to put that together. We all have a little piece in that. And it's very inclusive. Anybody can call that number. They are very helpful. They're so understanding. Please call them. And don't give up on us. We are fighting. And if we don't have the numbers because you're not here anymore, That's one less that we have. Stick with us. We're going to win this.
I really like that It Gets Better campaign that was around for a minute.
Yeah, it does get better.
I say that to teens and kids.
I think it was one of the best.
Whether they're struggling with these issues or not,
or just bad parenting,
or
like,
even
whatever,
if you're an LGBTQ in a red state right now, where they're doing all these anti-laws.
It gets better.
Hang in there. We know. We're trying. There's just so many. We're working on it. It takes time.
Soon you will be able to move. You know.
Yeah, or you know. I'm not as loud and proud as I used to be. I was getting some sticky notes right after our governor did some stuff.
Oh, what do you mean sticky notes?
I went to the truck stop to get me some cigarettes, and I got a sticky note saying, "We're coming for you."
Oh my God.
You will be exterminated. And I've had other friends get the same. You know, whether it be through social media or little notes on their cars. You know, these politicians love using fear to get what they want, but the fear is creating something that they're going to lose control of.
Yes.
The problem is if you start killing us, you're going to get a taste for it, and we're not going to be enough soon. Ask Dahmer. Ask Gacy. Ask all the serial killers. They started small and worked their way up. And we're the small fish. Be careful, other people. You're next.
So I have a young friend right now who's who's probably going into treatment for the third time in the last calendar year because he's dealing with these issues, because one of his parents is not supportive, because it's hard to date and be trans. It's hard to be a teenager and be trans. Even as supportive as some of the Butte schools have become,
they've kind of
comparatively,
they're going backward, sadly, I hate to say.
Oh, that sucks. Well, I mean, so what you made it. You're decades into your life and you made it. And, you know, like,
I don't know how.
It can be really hard to conceive of that when you're 17. That you could potentially someday be 35 or 50 and living with a partner that you care about and feeling safe and feeling loved. Like,
I do great makeup. I'm pretty old. I didn't think I'd make it past 25, to be honest. I mean, after the bashings, I figured 25 because I was getting into the fight. I knew I was going to be on the front lines. Now, I'm not a leader. I am not the one making up the stuff. I am not the one putting it together. No, I'm just one of its many workers. And I was on the front lines, and we became the LGB. You know why we were the LGB and not all the other letters?
Why?
Because we were afraid it would confuse people. The T, we were there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
We were there at Stonewall even.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there some, I brought up the thing about kink shaming people out of the parade. And wasn't there a battle with, like,
well, I hope not, because I love the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
Yeah, no, I'm speaking from, you know, I read a lot of stuff. I see a lot of stories. And so there's always, in any movement, there always ends up being compartmentalizing and infighting within.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that, I remember reading articles where the LG and the B were like, maybe not the T so much. We're trying to be respectable, and that you're freaking everybody out.
It had nothing to do with respect.
What was it?
Okay,
because you know what I'm talking about. That was a thing.
All those letters were there back then. Maybe not the
but
numbers we have now.
Right.
The people
were there.
But
right.
it's not like
it was already.
It's not like we're inventing new kinds of gay.
One of the biggest, and I think one of the largest misrepresented and underrepresented people in our communities. There's two of them. It's the intersex. Because these transgender bills are going to affect them too. And yeah, they keep saying transgender, but do you think it's not going to affect an intersex or what used to be a clinical term, a hermaphrodite?
Right.
You know?
These are people that are
These
born
are people that the doctor chose.
in between.
The doctor chose which sex they would be.
Oh,
right.
I had a
friend
parents
didn't even get to choose. The doctor chose.
I thought the parents chose.
Only in certain states. Most states, the doctor does it at birth.
I had a friend for a while who was
it's wrong.
Like, I would say definitely a dude.
I think the parents should have something to say about it. Or actually, did you know it's okay for them to hit a certain age and decide before the hormones start?
Yeah.
There's no reason it has to be then.
Yeah.
Yet they make it sound like it medically has to happen
Well,
otherwise they're not going to have a fulfilled life.
Well, it's because society treats people like shit if you don't fit into a box. It's because we can't have in-betweener people walking around just like self-expressing their magical self because like you can't have our society can't handle intersex because it would literally be like, I can't categorize you. I don't know what kind of gift to give you on your birthday. I don't know which swim class to put you in.
I so want to take you to the goth theater. They're scary, but they are so nice.
There's a lady I met in South Africa that was born with 6 fingers on each hand. So she had an extra finger here.
They cut them off?
They cut them off immediately, even though in the culture that is the sign of somebody who is prolific. They have abundance. And at birth they just cut off the other fingers, even though that in their tradition is a sign of is a positive sign.
I don't know, I've heard of Mormons getting born with tails and they cut those off too.
Joking.
I wish I was.
Maybe it's the inbreeding.
No, really, you could look it up. I'm sure you'll find it. Anyway,
but the tails are not just specific to Mormons.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, because my grandma told me that Jewish people only wear yarmulkes to hide their horns.
Oh no, it's the bald spot.
Well, I was told horns because.
No.
Cassandra Ritchie says hi. Do you know Cassandra Ritchie?
Oh, hi. Hi, Cassandra. Which, by the way, brings me to my second group of the underrepresented.
Okay.
You know, and you know, like I said, the intersex, these laws are actually coming out against transgenders that are going to affect them. Mm-hmm. Now, the other group that I think has been misrepresented yet named from the very beginning, the bisexual community. Yes. They come out to a gay person like, oh, well, no, you're confused. You haven't decided
You just
yet.
haven't decided. You're just not sure.
Oh, you just want both sides of the yard.
You're watering it down.
And in actuality, people can be that way, and they're really friendly, and they're really good. And yet they are so unrepresented in our community. I think because their ability to hide is a little better than ours. But at the same token, why should they have to?
Sure.
Why not? You know? Hell, I want them to start wearing half suit, half dress to work every day.
Right? Absolutely.
Make a new style.
I think for me, it seems the more that I learn about the LGBTQ plus community and about like my own self and my friends, is it seems like everything's a spectrum. Oh, yeah. Religion is a spectrum. Politics is a spectrum. Gender expression is a spectrum. Your sexual inclinations are a spectrum. Like, you land on a particular spot on the spectrum, but it's not just Republican or Democrat, and it's not just I like boys or I like girls, you know? Like, some people super just only like boys, and some people super just only like girls, and then some people are mostly girls, but sometimes a boy or two, and vice versa, you know? It's kind of a range.
Well, you know, for the longest time, I was strictly dickly. Oh, good, we can say that.
Yeah, you can say it. You're safe. We're not on the radio anymore.
I was strictly dickly for the longest time until I met this wonderful trans one, and it's been the first girl I've been with, and it's been quite a good relationship. Yeah, we've had our ups and downs, but you know, I thought I was always gonna be just toward the guy.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, apparently I was wrong. You know, I didn't decide that. It just and I actually was very conflicted at that point. You know, I know who I am. I fought. I made it through back surgeries and walked again. And then I meet this person, and I got so conflicted and confused. I even confused them because they thought, oh, well, you're not into me.
Right.
Even though they did like me. And then I got jealous when they were with somebody else.
That's a
sign. And it confused me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why am I having these feelings? And finally, it kind of came to a head, blow up, and then finally I just blurted it out. I didn't even know until that happened.
You blurted out, I like you?
I've known who I am my whole life until that moment.
So there's room for change.
Evolution?
Change, evolution,
perception
the right
shift,
person.
The right person, right?
Yeah.
You know, like Monday show, I heard your little really good go ahead and try with gay.
I gave it
you gave it the old go ahead
try.
You did. You gave it the gusto too.
Yeah.
But here's the funny part. What if you met a guy and you guys had kind of that bromance thing, and
Right.
you're both straight as could be, but you're both single, you're both roommates, and you never meet somebody else. Wouldn't that be a relationship?
That's one of the things that I like. I just instead of saying I'm not gay, I just basically said I guess I haven't met the right guy yet, because I am like I feel like there's a lot of cultural conditioning that is in many cases beaten into you. So there's not always room for nuance to think about what may or may not happen in the future. And I think those things are real. And that's what I was trying to battle, was like, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't reactively straight because I was actually maybe gay and just afraid.
How about just awkwardly forward?
Yeah. So I
Isn't that where like pansexual comes in?
The
Is like, look,
pansexual thing, like-
you never know who you might be too super into.
right. I'm not anti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm not gonna get in this debate between pansexual and bisexual.
Fight.
It confuses me still, but apparently there is a difference. I understand there is a difference, yet I don't understand everything yet, so I'm not going to speak on that. But I do respect all of you.
Right. Which I feel like right now we're like, but I respect, but no offense, right? And eventually we'll just be like, I just want you to be happy. And whatever makes you happy that's not causing harm, that's how it should be. To me, that's like my personal morality is you should do you and be happy and not cause harm.
Oh, I've upset some new trans people time to time on social media. They come out, they've been out a couple months, they start screaming on their social account how bad this thing was, and I'm just like, what'd you expect? Did you think it was going to be unicorns and puppy farts? I mean, those are kind of bad, but anyway. But
everything about puppies is adorable.
And unicorns
except
goes
for the
into
farts. I'm sorry, their farts can.
Unicorns goes into the
poly community.
We can fight about unicorns in the poly
But
community too.
yeah. Actually, I was just listening to a rock band that has a couple unicorn songs called Glory Hammer.
Oh my!
That was pretty good. Just something about the universe of unicorns or something. But they're kind of a heavy metal band. But they're kind of like that the nerdy heavy metal bands.
Yeah. I like it. Kira asks, what about two spirits in the Native American community? Some LGBT acronyms added too. Is two spirit different from transgender?
Well, that's a whole other cultural. I think you would have to ask somebody from that culture, where that has like a long history.
Too bad Donovan's on the KBMF board, so we can't have him on our show and talk about it.
Oh, Donovan! Yeah.
Of being in the culture. I mean, that's not something. That's not like the Two-Spirit is a part of a long, ongoing culture. It's the same thing in Hawaii.
It isn't so much associated with changing your physical genitalia or changing your dress. From what my understanding of Two-Spirit,
it's also not shunned.
Yeah,
in the
very.
larger community.
Are you, Donovan?
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here listening to
you're
both this,
native,
going,
yeah.
no. Now I'm more confused because I thought it was both like their way of saying both bi or transgender or
like any old.
Yeah, it's just they have two spirits within them.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going to speak as far as the Native American community concerned. I am not as educated in that aspect. I do respect their vibe that is probably pretty much beating everybody else's. As far as length.
If we have a First People listener or someone who's friends with somebody in the First People community that might know about two spirits, we would love to have you on the show and talk about it.
Yeah.
And I would love to talk with somebody from Mexico.
And Hawaii. Hawaii, the same thing. Mahu is the term for somebody who is not in the binary circle.
Boy, girl.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like you go to Asia, the transgenders there, totally different culture.
It's a different
type of acceptance or non-acceptance, different type of everything.
Yeah, probably, and I'm just going to
Vietnam, same thing. And so many cultures have so many different ways of handling this.
I think the Judeo-Christian thing complicates it for Western culture in ways that it doesn't in a lot of the other older cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Male and female, he created them.
Yeah, the binary aspect of the Judeo-Christian paradigm. I think
good, evil, black, white.
I think it makes things a little more difficult for the Western
mind to conceive of not just binary things.
Well, It's funny when it's funny when you look at how we put things in physics terms. Okay. So you look at like good or bad, but at the same token, they're either going down a dark path or maybe they're enlightened. This is a bright person. Oh, they have a dark attitude.
Right.
You look at the pictures of like the Dante's Inferno, the devil's always cast in the dark, the angels are always cast in the light. And we use this duality so often. And there's more to it than two colors.
Yes.
There's a whole, the sun is showing us just from its spectrum alone how many colors there are.
Absolutely.
And I think Jungian psychology, was a kind of a balm on the Judeo-Christian, Freudian extension of the Judeo-Christian of the good, bad, black, white.
Maybe we don't just need to cut out half of our everything.
I like that approach because it's like, well, yeah, it's the phrase that you used to use all the time that I really appreciated, which is the shadow proves the light. It's not opposing. The idea of the dark and the light are not opposing. People ask me all the time, like, dark, like the opposite of light. And I'm like, as in the complement to light.
Yeah. Or the mass of all colors.
So, but the Judeo-Christian thing, unfortunately, in my experience, my lived experience, and what I observe in a lot of people, is the Judeo-Christian thing wants to make things too simple into a black and white term that I think is really, I want to live in a more complex world than that.
Right. When it comes to spirituality, whether it be Christian, Muslim, Jewish, many, I couldn't name them all. There's too many. But no matter what spirituality it is, that's right. No matter what spirituality it is, I have seen where it actually has helped so many people. But I've also seen where it's
causes
created
a lot of harm.
wars.
Yeah, that's why I say not all Christians. It's not about being Christian. It's about these tools for living a life getting corrupted.
Right.
And being abused and being used as a hammer can build a house or you can bash somebody's skull in with it. And I feel like, that's why we do our show. The idea of post-orthodoxy is really like, we're not saying that that is evil.
Hollywood
we're saying
helps in
there
that.
may be other things going on we can explore, and we're not encouraged to do it.
Well, it's like the numbers 666 in the pentagram that are synonymous with evil these days. Did you know that wasn't even a thing until 1978 with this movie called The Omen?
Right.
No.
I was the Rainbow
Well,
Plus
but the number of the
community.
beast.
Aleister Crowley was messing around with that number back in the
In
40s.
Revelation.
But as far as the pentagram, though. So back in the day, when we had the Rainbow Plus Community Center, it was that old church.
Yeah.
That historic church. Well, up in the balcony, if you look at the old seats that used to sit there, there's drilled in pentagrams on every seat.
Why?
They changed them in the 70s because of that movie.
Oh my god!
It used to be the Wiccan sign of protection. It was the pagan sign of, and the pagans and the Christians wrote that Bible together. 150 years later, the Christians decided to sack the pagans,
right,
and then rewrite their own version. Now, that wasn't the bad version. The bad version didn't happen until the 12th century. It has been rewritten 84 times, by the way.
The bad version of...
The Bible has been rewritten 84 times.
It's the only truly inspired,
was the
completely
12th century, which was
infallible,
right
blah, blah,
before
blah.
the Spanish Inquisitions.
Right.
And then the 14th century before the European Inquisitions.
Nobody expects those.
Well, don't you think what's going on right now is not heading right toward that?
Yes, and nobody
He was
expects
quoting
it.
Monty Python.
Nobody. I love Monty.
No, I feel like we're in, this is like very dark times that we're in. Not to slander my own name, but like, I feel like there's definitely an occlusion of the light in terms of liberty of thought, liberty of conversation, being able to have more than a yes or no answer, being able to question authority. I mean, we're in a low ebb of that, lower than I've ever seen it in my lifetime.
Well, it did mine too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been through the fag bashings.
Right.
And this is the lowest point I've seen in a long time. Now, how do I say it? See, here I go. Now I can't say it. It's not always the best idea to lead with your chin. Any boxer will tell you that.
Right.
Sometimes when, say, if you're watching us and you're from one of these really bad areas, it's okay to not kind of be loud and proud.
That's self-preservation.
Self-preservation.
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean that you don't actually care?
No. It just means
you don't want to be
you're
murdered.
smart enough to duck.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I'm obviously
I know.
Yeah.
Devil's advocate. I understood.
Yeah.
Anyway. So anyway, as far as the history goes, so yeah, then we got to the 80s and then the 90s. Laws changed. People started getting educated. We became more of a familiar scene. Hollywood was putting us in up front in more movies. We were getting a lot. You had Queer Eye coming out.
Right.
You had Queer Eye, the second one.
Right.
Then you had like Robin Williams, Doubtfire. You had Robin Williams again, The Birdcage.
Right.
I mean
Tyler Perry.
Right. Medea.
Right.
You know, you had all this going on, which was giving. Not a green light, but just saying it's there.
It exists.
Now, Judeo-Christian will say, "Oh, they're teaching them bad things. They're all going to do it
They're
now."
out promoting it. They're causing it to happen in our culture. That's what.
But I never tried to blow up a Roadrunner.
It's true.
I mean, you didn't know that until this moment.
I didn't tell you that I didn't do that.
Yeah.
But now you know I never tried to blow up a Roadrunner or strap myself to an Acme rocket. Why do you think that's going to do that?
I don't.
No, I'm throwing it out.
Right. Yeah, why do you think
Why
that?
do you
Yeah.
think that
Why do
would
you
do
think
it? Looney Tunes, I mean, come on, just my era, that was between Popeye beating everybody up with a can of spinach and a twirling pipe.
Right.
It was a video game excuse too. That's why video games
Video
have to
games
all be
cause
banned, 'cause
violence.
It causes violence. Yeah.
It's like, no, maybe we're dealing with abuse and trauma, and
Maybe
we
not
don't
having-
have healthy outlets or tools for dealing with it, and so people go and blow up schools because no one's giving them good sex education, et cetera, et
Or,
cetera.
how about the Wiccan side? We haven't even mentioned that one.
What about it?
We are of the earth, and the earth is sick, so therefore we are becoming sick with it.
Yep. Sure.
Kira's mentioning Donald in Math Magic Land. Is that like...
Donald Duck, Math Magic Land.
Yeah. The pentagram was synonymous with Pythagoreans. Pythagoreans.
Yeah.
Pythagoreans.
I think you got it on the first run.
Pythagoreans.
Sure.
Pythagoreans.
Pathans. I didn't look at the word, I'm just guessing.
Greece.
Pythagoras and people inspired by
Pythagoras.
Now I think about it and I can't say it. So.
Kari Jimenez says, from my understanding from the Navajo community, two spirits is a transgender person with two literal spirits.
Yeah.
So is it spiritual realm or is it physical realm? And are we talking about...
I would say
like,
one can bleed into the other.
So like two beings in one body?
Trying to explain so much of...
We just can't even handle that with our Judeo-Christian brains.
No, trying to explain that culture and translate it in. It's like when we went to Standing Rock and people were like, we're here to save the environment. And they're like, you are the environment. I don't know if you know what you're talking... Like, the idea of the environment is over here. That's a Judeo-Christian thing. The environment's that thing over there. I'm something special in it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to go help it over there. And like the prayer camp at Standing Rock, those folks were like,
well, rather than protect it, how about I'm here to support
we are the environment. There is no separation between us and the environment. And
this is
that
a hard
little kink
concept for
that
me
you
too.
have is making our job difficult.
Right.
So
the environment has a direct correlation on everything that happens to us. I was just you ever watch that show American Ninja Warrior?
Yes,
I love that show. They do these bios at the beginning, and each year, I swear, more and more people are helping or having problems with family members with cancer. When I was a kid, cancer was a rare thing.
Yeah.
Not because it just wasn't spoken about, just because it was a rare thing, and it's becoming more and
We're
more.
really fucking
and
ourselves
you got to
up.
look around going, something's causing it.
Mm-hmm. Microwaves.
Oh. Well, I don't like microwaves much.
5G, man.
Yeah.
5G.
Oh, God, I remember that one.
Let's
So moving back to the Pride. So we fought all this way, and we were on the terrorist watch list.
Yeah,
So-
I wanted to get into that a little bit. I know we're like an hour and
You know
a
what
half
that
in,
meant?
but we've got time.
We can
cool.
talk. We can talk as long as we want.
As long as we want to.
until our
And
voices fall
I'm
off.
interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where was I? I had that thought, and then you said that.
Oh, you're talking
you
about...
were on the terrorist watch list.
Oh, we were on the terrorist watch list for 20 years after Stonewall, which meant we couldn't have a lobby. We couldn't fight for laws. We didn't really. I mean, it was kind of like
You're an enemy of the state.
In the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes it hard to travel. So for now, travel was a little different back then, so it really didn't make it too much harder. But you know, if we were to buy guns, it would be harder back then. So when the revenge riots happened in '89, or the fag bashing mob, whatever they want to call it, it was never called the revenge riot. Yet it was on the day of the 20-year anniversary. We were coming out of a birthday party, and it took all my family I built up around me, kind of the surrogate mom and the friends, and I was mad, you know, and then to wake up in the hospital a few hours later, because I was lucky to get knocked out and only have broken legs. I'm sitting there with a cop over me handing me a goddamn ticket to go to court because I incited a riot based on how I was dressed.
They literally said that your clothing incited a riot?
I'm finding out my friends are dead, and this is what I have to deal with. Whew. Oh, I was mad. But the lesbians, I think more than anything, the gays, they coddled me. They're like, oh, come here, I'll give you a hug because you're feeling sad. But the lesbians, they were like, we'll teach you how to fight, right?
Yeah.
And they educated me. And in that education, I got to learn a lot, so much. Got to learn the grouping of people, the psychology of people, how to maneuver people within those groups, how to write legal term. You know, I mean, just a lot of schooling, you know. But they taught me, and as I was learning, I started realizing this was so much bigger than my petty little revenge and hate. And I saw suffering that was even worse than mine, actual lynchings.
Yeah.
And, or the after effects of somebody being hung and set on fire.
Oh, my God.
Just because we came into town to try to help. We lost a lot of people in this fight. I only have a couple friends left from them. You know, it's been so long. I'm even having a hard time remembering their faces these days. It's kind of weird. There's a couple I still remember for sure, but you know, you sit there and you think, I could be mad. I could be angry. Is it worth suicide? No. But I did call that hotline a few times. What is it worth to me anymore? I mean, really. What is it worth to me? Nothing. But what is it worth to that next kid behind me? Everything in the world. I've stood up so many times for injustices or people asking me to do certain things because if I followed through with that or I allowed them to treat me that way, the person behind me would have to go through the same. And why didn't I stop it? You know?
And you're not just talking about...
I'm talking about, I went to beauty school after I started walking again because I wanted to do something different. I kind of didn't want to do politics anymore. I'm a little bit shy. Yeah.
Just for a brief stint.
I had a problem with using the bathroom there. Beauty school, of all places, in Oregon. In Portland, Oregon. What? That's mind-blowing. And they come up and they ask me to use this one way off over here or this one way off over here rather than the one everybody used.
For the women.
And I sat there and I was in tears at first. Then I pulled, in the dean's office and pulled myself together. Went back to class, pulled out because I just got it to school and they called me and I was like, oh shit, what I do? Whenever you get called, manager calls you in the office, like, grab what I do. And it's like, you got a promotion. Oh, phew. Yeah, but it wasn't the promotion. But go back to class, pull out my mannequin hand, pull out my scissors and stuff. Stared at it for about 3 minutes. Put everything away, walked up to my teacher, and I was like head of the class. I had been doing it all my life. I just needed the terminology.
Right.
And so, walk up to my teacher, and I said, you got a half a second? She goes, what? And I said, trust me, you're going to want to hear this in the hall.
Oh.
And I walked out, and I said, look, I understand what you're doing. I understand why you're scared. I said, but I fought for my country. I fought for my community. I've given my life and my health for both. and now you won't let me use a bathroom. I said, that's too much to ask, and I'm not going to let the person behind me have to go through that either. I said, I'm through. She goes, oh, wait, let me get the dean. Well, the dean had left to go to lunch or something. And she goes, well, can you wait? And I said, no. If they want me, they need to call me because I'm through. And I walked out. I quit.
Yeah.
Right there. I'm head of the class. I'm acing the test. I am going faster than anybody they've ever seen in their life. They had actually people calling in from like Bouffant's for me to understudy there, one of Mariah Carey's places. They wanted me to do runways and help the professionals. I was their superstar.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm done. I quit. And they said, well, isn't this important to you? And I said, oh, so much. It's kind of a dream, but it's not that much of a dream. Because if my dream can't be free, then it's not really a dream. If I have to sacrifice so that others behind me have to sacrifice because I sacrificed and so many before me sacrificed, sometime the cycle's got to stop. Just like you guys, you're waking up out of that fog and you're looking around going, the world's changed. And yet, as I learn more, each week I change my mind. Hell, this week I'm accepting, maybe next week I'm not. Why not have the freedom to be that way? I don't have that freedom. But if you got it, use it.
Yeah.
You've got a platform, use it. You've got a platform, use it. But do it smart. Don't stick your chin out and get it knocked off. I did that too many times.
Do not recommend.
Do not recommend. But there are a lot of great people in our community. Some of the best, you know. So there's this story. This gay guy and his partner go to the circus. They'd been looking forward to going to the circus forever, and there's this family of 5 in front of them. And you could tell by the way they were dressed and their cleanliness that they didn't have a lot of money. They were right behind them, not in front of it. And so they noticed them and everything. And they finally get up, and they were polite. They were like, "Oh, you guys go first. You know, you got kids. You know." Some people think us and kids, I don't know, but we're very friendly. But they go up there and they only had enough for 4 tickets. And the dad's like, no, you guys go. I can sit out here and wait for you. And the gay guys, you know, they didn't have a lot of money either, but they were like, let's go get some ice cream. And he drops a $20 bill on the ground and goes, oh, sir, you dropped that. And at first the guy says, no, because he was a really honest guy, even though he was struggling. And they're like, no, you dropped it. And they walked away. Did that guy know those guys were gay? Probably not. But they helped them and their family. The humanity is what we need back, not the ideology. You know, they say we're human. Isn't that the Latin root word of humane? Why aren't we humane? I'd rather be a humane than a human.
Ooh. The humanity, not the ideology.
Yeah. I mean, the ideology is great. I mean, we all have these brilliant ideas.
Well, these are things that it's like the expedient means. Like the things have to come up. The ideologies have to come up to address a certain problem. But I think something I've been thinking a lot about lately is how do we have a vision beyond the fight? The fight should not be a permanent state. The fight should be a means to an end. And what is the end? Where we're identifying each other as humans.
I understand that fight.
Yeah.
So much. So I was one of the lucky ones to be able to get the bottom surgery. I am as much woman as any woman with a full hysterectomy. So it took in my lifetime, it went from science fiction to science true.
Right.
And then everything I went through to get that. Then, of course, the 2 months of recovery. By the way, wow, it's painful. I'm not going to lie. It was painful. It was worth every minute, but it was painful. And I'm not a fan of pain pills, so my friends had to force me to take them.
Right.
I'd let myself get to the way too long.
Yeah.
But after that was done, I had a void, an emptiness. I had fought and worked so long to get
to that point.
that once it was done, it was like,
now what?
Yeah. And so I highly suggest anybody going for that surgery out there in the world, start thinking about that before your surgery, because you're going to want to start filling in those things with positive things. It doesn't necessarily have to be a fight. When I say fight, I don't mean I'm going out there. No. When I say fight, I mean I'm working toward a resolve to an issue that puts us the lesser.
What does that last phrase mean? What do you mean that puts us the lesser?
Society as a whole, has decided we are less than normal people.
Oh, resolve to an issue making you lesser. I see. Yeah. Okay. I get it. I misheard.
It's like, you see it on YouTube and in rap videos and R&B world all the time. Oh, that's gay. Well, why does it have to be the lesser? Because in a lot of cultures, that means happy. Hell, it was in ours for a long time, too.
Yeah.
And then queer, that's actually the French word for patent leather.
Well, and that's so that
hell, a fag's a cigarette.
Like, dude, don't be gay. That goes into another human rights fight that we've got going on in the US.
I always stick with don't be a dick.
The sexism, like, why is it derogatory to say don't be gay? It's because you're insinuating that your male friend is acting like a girl, and that would be bad because girls are lesser. So it kind of like it's roped into the sexism.
Saw a great one. It was a great show. I loved it. Mythbusters.
Oh, yeah.
They did that one where the statement was you throw like a girl. So they brought these girls and boys in at various ages to throw and see. And actually at one point, I think it was between 12 and 16, the girl was throwing better than the boy.
Fascinating.
That's why they make them throw underhand so they don't compete with the boys.
Aww.
Softball.
I've seen some. I don't know.
That
I look at Ronda Rousey and I think she could beat a few of those guys' butts in MMA.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's like Asia. Okay, Kabuki Theater, I think it was called.
Yeah.
All the men played all the women's parts.
Yeah, same with Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, he would reverse roles where the woman would play the man and the man would play the woman. Well, actually, Midsummer's Night Dream was a beautiful piece all about that almost.
Right.
But why are there roles? A woman, let's talk about a woman's strength. Okay, so for the longest time, she had to raise the kid, cook the food, clean the house, kill the food, skin the food, teach the kid, help the husband, take care of the land. Oh, and what'd the husband do? Oh, yeah, he had to go hunting. With some friends and some ale. Oh, they needed some firewood, so we cut down a tree too. Now, my family's a lumberjack. That's a job. But why are women the lesser?
Right.
I'll go back to the Judeo-Christian thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it'd be...
Not all Christians, blah, blah, blah.
Hashtag not all Christians. I think I would love to do a show
but they're the lesser in Asia, too. There's no Judeo-Christian there.
Well...
When it comes to American Ninja Warrior, let's look at it this way. Well, the men are good at the strength, but the women do all the balance stuff perfectly.
Yeah. So my friends in South Africa, they were like, women, like there's a phrase in South Africa, which is like, when you hit a woman, you hit a rock. Like, women are valued in a different way. It's definitely, they have...
well, look at the Polynesian, the
Tongans. Culture.
The Tongan women are bigger than the men by far.
Yeah. So I think Judeo-Christian is not a one-size-fits-all answer for that, but I think in the way that we practice it, a way a lot of people practice it, I think it lends itself to this lesser because of the Bible and things that were said in the Bible. And people can quote that and just not have to analyze further.
Right. Do you guys want to look at the gender unicorn before we wrap up tonight?
Oh, sure. What is the gender unicorn?
You've not seen the gender unicorn?
I know what the gender unicorn is.
Let's go talk about
I was being excited for the audience.
What is it? You can look at my screen here. So I found this super helpful because I guess when I was like, oh, yes, I know about gay things now, and I'm not against gay because I'm not as Christian as I used to be. Hashtag not all Christians. The kind of Christianity I was raised in is very much like... gay is bad, right? So the gender unicorn talks about various aspects of your sexual and emotional and romantic and personal expression in the world. When I first got out into being quote unquote accepting of the gay, I was kind of like, oh, that means it's okay for boys to like boys and it's okay for girls to like girls. And it even means that if a boy wants to paint his nails, he should be able to paint his nails. You know, that was kind of like me being really wildly out there.
Oh, Marilyn Manson does.
Yes, but he's Satan.
Kiss has great face makeup.
Well, but like for a boy, so this is like, it's not just, yeah, Dark just got a pedicure today. It's really gorgeous. It looks like wine. So this is the gender unicorn.
I'm jealous. I need one.
I can recommend Destiny.
Have a good recommendation.
Destiny Sunshine down on Front Street. So
there's your plug, Destiny.
There you go, Destiny. We love you. So the gender unicorn is kind of like you can have your gender identity, which is I in my selfness am a woman. So Samantha.
Am I missing the non-binary now?
I think they have other genders. So they have the male,
other intersex. Okay,
exactly.
I see. Other. I see it now.
Yep.
All
So your identity, like for me, I identify as a woman. Samantha identifies as a woman. Dark identifies as a man. Gender expression, I would say, I don't know, what do you call tomboy hippie gender expression? Is like I like
tomboy hippie.
Yeah, I like patterns.
In Washington, we just call them greeners.
I like patterns, but I would also love wearing like all black or like a manly trench coat, and I would love to be a bouncer. Like I have some more stereotypically masculine gender expressions that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And dark is a very masculine gender expression. Samantha prefers a feminine gender expression.
Well, where I want to do hair and makeup, my friend Carrie Jimenez, she's actually an ex-rugby player.
Oh, nice. Wow.
I mean, yeah,
like
and she's
fucking built.
She works truck docks.
Wow. So
she's usually the only girl on there having to deal with these guys, but you know, she does it. I of course, with my back, I could never even go near that.
No, I love the idea of being all tough, quote unquote, manly.
So, what was it about the gender unicorn that grabbed you? Because I've heard you reference it a few times.
It's just easy peasy. It lays it all out, and it covers more than just like a boy liking a boy, which to me was gay. Was kind of like, well, so people should be able to like same sex. That was kind of my like, okay, I'm accepting now. You know, I understand. And this is like, no, there's all these things. It's not just like, we've got to stop thinking in boxes. It's not just.
I like we had a conversation with a friend over dinner.
Oh yeah.
And he's really, his son is gay, and he's really trying to be like okay with it, but he's also evangelical Christian coming from that, but also trying to like work his way into the whole thing or whatever. And then, you know, we're friends, so he can be honest. And so at one point he goes like, you know what? I just don't feel comfortable seeing two guys kissing.
I just don't want to see two guys kissing.
See it. You know, that's the thing. And so Ainsley said, well, do you know what that means?
No.
It's time for Post-Orthodoxy, a show about changing our minds.
With your hosts, Dark and Ainsley Sevier.
Maybe
well, here's the thing.
believe
And then I was like, you know what that makes you, my friend?
all of reality?
What? Like, what?
I know, right?
We're on a mission to have a better time with more people more often.
The question is, how do you get there?
And he was so relieved.
Post-Orthodoxy explores strongly held beliefs, how those belief systems divide or connect people, and what might be found beyond those reality bubbles.
Keep calm. Don't lose your head.
I've got a piece of chocolate here with me because I got anxiety about doing this.
Welcome to this
I
neighborhood,
don't
neighbor.
think he's
Kiss
ever.
on each other's
I don't think he's ever experienced that kind of culture. No, he means like guys romantically liking each other.
Him
like
uncomfortable
actual mouth-to-mouth.
with two guys making out. Like a guy and a girl making out can make me uncomfortable. Like
You dark.
Me, like watching somebody make out. It's like I don't know if I want to see that either. Like sometimes
A little sloppy.
Yeah. So like I think there's the idea of like, because you're heterosexual male and the idea of two women, because that's two women and you like women, that's not a problem. The idea is you don't like guys and that's happening, and then that's like.
So he's gone from his son being gay to I can't handle two guys kissing.
No, but see, that's how it. That's how it. Like
he made a jump there without it happening.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Why does he have to say it? Why can't he look the other way?
Well, this is somebody who's working into his own understanding and acceptance from some hardcore programming.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
like
well,
I feel like he was I feel like
conservative.
he was brave enough to say
At least say it.
to not be in the closet about, well, I'm just not going to say that because it's going to make me politically incorrect and they're not going to think.
No, it's good to know that.
I
But
appreciate that he's brave enough to say, I'm uncomfortable
it's also
with
good
that.
to
You should
know
be able
that
to
you
say
just went from here to here and skipped a whole bunch of middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
it's a
the middle
sloppy trip.
might be that workup period to be okay with his son having love.
Well, but
Isn't that what we want
like
for our children?
No.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Finger gun. Like the Pirates of the Caribbean. So like the thing. So I think this goes back into the sexism. Also, is there's this deep cultural mindset of the male ownership over the feminine. And it's okay for the male gaze to be partaking of femininity in the world. And so when they see this, bear with me here. So when a very traditional conservative, sheltered, heterosexual, cisgender male sees males doing something sexual, which there would typically be a female involved, which then both males, both the observer and the other person making out, could be enjoying that girl. Like the observer is watching the boyfriend kiss the girlfriend and can enjoy it because he's a man. He would like to kiss her too. So like there's this ownership thing. But then when you see a man kissing a man, the observer cannot participate in an intellectually invasive way. Like we have so much of this like male invasive.
I think Saturday Night Live covered it. It's not gay if it's a three-way.
Right, as long as there's a vagina involved somewhere, it's fine.
No, okay. So I see that it's part of. Okay, so
it's like this possessive mentality in the cis men in the U.S.
So what trans men go through, is they're constantly having to be tougher than the other guys, more manly than the other guys, spit more than the other guys,
just to prove,
more into sports than the other, just to prove themselves. But guys seem to be more okay with that than a trans woman. And as I thought about it in life, somebody asked me why that is, and I didn't have an answer, and I thought about it, and one night I had this weird dream. Yeah, there's some drugs involved. Anyway, there's this weird dream. It was a good party.
Yeah.
Anyway, weird dream. And I woke up, and all of a sudden, it just clicked on me. The men have always been in charge of society as far as we know in our written time.
Yeah.
The male has always controlled everything. They've been the masculine. They've been the one to protect. They've been the one to carry and raise the family by their hard work, even though the women are doing most of it. They've always been that role. And for a woman to want to be a man, that makes sense because we're that awesome.
Oh.
But for a man to want to be a woman, what, are you nuts? Did you see them once a month? You know, and it's a mentality thing that it's so ingrained into the culture. It's not just an ideology thing. I think it's a cultural thing.
Way very much so. Like when you're talking about after you went through your surgery, and you were talking about the sense of the vacuum that was created in the absence of the struggle,
right, of
the battle. I think when I was just leaving my church and my family when I was 18, and I was looking at, I moved to Los Angeles in 1989. And I'm looking society-wise, the role of the mom is being changed. The role of the dad is being changed. It used to be father knows best, right? And everybody loves dad. And then it was like, dad can't make correct toothpaste choices. He's a moron. There's this sort of downplaying of the dad.
And then you had this Mr. Mom thing happen.
And it was this it was a compensation. Yeah. They're like, well, let's diminish the male and let's give the female her due. But I feel like what happened in those roles, especially for kids like my age coming up in that shift, the role is like, okay, so the traditional roles are being torn down for many good reasons, but the new roles have not been created, so there's a void. There's this like, well, my dad knew how to be a guy. My mom knew how to be a woman, and that was an easy track in terms of the fill in the blanks, the connect the dots. But in the 90s, where things started shifting around and changing, it wasn't easy to go from point A to point B, because if I want to be a guy and get married and be a dad, I can't be my dad.
No.
And I can't expect my mom to be my mom.
Your wife.
My wife to be my mom. Exactly. Right?
Well, your mom's going to be your mom.
Yeah. I mean.
So that idea, so like in the 80s and 90s, there was all this sort of shifting around. And I think there were some stereotypes and some cultural norms that needed to be deconstructed. And there wasn't a new construction, which left a lot of people sort of adrift and trying to figure out how to be a human.
That might be part of the problem with society, or especially the American society as a whole right now, is we've created this atmosphere where unless both parents are working, you don't make it.
Right.
Okay, so who's raising the kid? Well, it ain't MTV anymore, so you can't blame the rock and roll.
Right, for the video games.
Okay, and it's not the video games
Cell
anymore.
phones.
It's not even the video games anymore. It's now the social media, the cell phones, the constant communication, the barrage of news, whether it's correct or not, the conspiracy theories, the friends. I miss watching kids run down the road, and it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, just going and fucking around.
And to advocate.
Well, I'm glad the police are happier, but
to advocate for the children, they're not running down the street because their parents won't let them, which is why.
Well, their parents aren't home. How are they not letting them?
We're talking chicken or egg here. Like, did kids become obsessed with technology, or were kids not allowed to leave the house first? I think the shift into helicopter parenting, which said, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey,
it's a dangerous world.
You can't go to the park without me."
Do you think it's because both parents aren't there, they don't want them to leave the house?
I think absolutely. Even though we have cell phones and fucking little tracking chips, kids should be safer than ever to go out of the house. Like I think, what was the thing we were listening to on NPR where they were talking about the nurseries, the child care centers.
Oh, the child care and the
in like the
pre-Ks.
80s and 90s, there was like this child care center that the nannies were accused of doing satanic rituals.
No. That was a whole...
That was like a whole scare that I feel like helped shift this, like, we better just keep our children home all the time.
Right.
The continual breakdown of community.
Well, also, it was also the first airing of a school shooting.
We can't trust any... Yeah, absolutely. That was a long time ago.
I remember that when I was living in Great Falls at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there
that
were
was
all
like 25 years ago.
Yeah, all these kids were running around in black trench coats, being a little goth, getting into Dungeons and Dragons, and starting to live in these sort of
D&D.
like so but there were these kids who were not going down the straight and narrow. They didn't just run off to college and start doing the fast track to being a successful blah blah blah. They were sort of like, I don't know what I want to do yet, so I'm going to hang out with my friends and play cribbage at the coffee shop. And they were wearing this sort of dark thing, and suddenly they were seen as bad guys because of what happened in Colorado at Columbine. And so suddenly...
Yeah, because that kid wore a trench coat.
Because that kid wore a trench coat. Now, anybody who wears a trench coat is suspect.
Wow.
It was really interesting to watch that shift in Great Falls with these kids.
I feel like we should blame television, honestly, if we're going to blame anything for kids being stuck at home with iPads all the time, is like television in the 80s and 90s just started selling fear to all the parents, and it started broadcasting things that, like...
I don't know if that's TV or politics.
I think it's both. Like
I think
I grew up in
corporations
Oklahoma.
have a key in that too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because
corporations
if they
through
can
TV.
scare you that if you're 5 pounds overweight, you have to take this pill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the 80s were a nightmare. The lifestyles of the rich and famous, and just glorifying all of that.
Robin Leach.
Robin Leach. I think he's like one of the guys that helped destroy Western civilization.
No,
like,
the social norms.
Jesus. Like, I went to Los Angeles because of Robin Leach to some degree.
It was nothing like what you saw.
I wanted to go get rich and famous because that's how you get the chicks. That's really, I mean, it's as a like a monkey brain. I'm like, how do I get most chicks? Well, you have most things that chicks want. And that's what Robin Leach told me they wanted, was the big house, the big car, the big boat, the lifestyle. You have to have the lifestyle. Otherwise, you can't pick from the breeding females.
Dire Straits, money for nothing and your chicks for free. I mean, there's a whole... era of that. I mean,
It was
even
bad.
Queen jumped in with fat bottom girls making the rock and roll go wrong.
I was living in Oklahoma, and in the summertime when it's 100% humidity and it's 104 degrees, you just don't go running around town. You sit home.
I don't remember it being 104 degrees when I was a kid.
Well, I did in Oklahoma.
Was it that?
Yeah, the South has got some gnarly.
Arizona, it was like 115.
Plus the humidity and all
I knew
that.
Vegas.
My point is that we lived in these air-conditioned pods.
Yeah.
And it was either go out and sweat and die, or just get programmed.
Stay home and watch TV.
And, I got programmed with MTV. Like, I couldn't watch it. I had to watch Friday Night Videos or some other off MTV or something because we didn't have cable.
Tracks or whatever.
I had to go to my friend's house to watch cable or whatever. But it was this whole big hair spray, spandex, sports car ideal was like this. It was sold as the liberation from the 50s.
Yeah.
But it was just an amplification of the 50s.
And just think, you could have left the house, used any payphone, and called Hall & Oates hotline.
That's right. Bring it all back. How do we stop this amazing conversation? I don't know how do we end the train?
Well, we can do more than one episode.
Yeah.
So back to the LGBTQ and its fears, movements, and going forward. See, we've covered the past, we covered what it is, but the one thing we haven't covered yet is where do we go from here?
What's the vision? This is the thing that I'd
Ooh,
like to
I like that.
time.
Yeah.
What is the vision?
Yeah, where do we go from here? Now, sadly, it's the same as cheesecake. What's the best cheesecake?
Oh, geez.
Is it the strawberry, the chocolate, the fudge, the original, the New York, the New Jersey, the Ohio,
What kind
is
of
it
crust?
the upside down? Is it the crumble? Is it the hard crust? Is it the chocolate crust? I mean, so it splinters again. You ask our community, say just the trans part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to get 5 answers. I couldn't tell you what those 5 are. I could tell you what mine is.
What the ideal future is?
Well, how do we get to the future?
Oh, yeah. Is it through a political path? Is it through community activism?
sadly,
is it through like
How
billboards?
do you have a shared vision then? How do you have a shared vision?
Education in schools.
Well, exactly. How do you have a shared vision with everybody needing or wanting something different?
This is, I think, a larger outside your community, my community, our community. Like,
right.
None
all
of us
communities are dealing with it.
We don't have a point on the horizon that we can look toward and say, I don't know what your trip is, but we can all agree on this trip.
When we became the LGB and we reorganized and we created some of these great protections and laws that moved us really, look at us now. We're better than we were, but no, we're not. But we sat there and we drew a line right there in the sand. You're either with us or the church. We had an enemy to go against. We created that fear. Well, you can't support them and us. Choose.
And now you know gay
well, now
clergy.
we've got affirming. Dating one.
Anyway,
but
more than
and
know
affirming
them.
churches and more coming out and and it's just like, okay, well, that can never happen again.
Right.
Yeah.
I was there for the church one.
You got to try and figure something out. Creating fighting against an enemy is not moving forward, but it's a place to start.
Well, it got us started.
Yeah.
But
so is
it
there
wasn't
a way?
The end all be all, and we knew that even then.
Is there a way to find? I mean, this is something I've obsessed on my entire adult life. Is what is the thing that all our various we all would like to see a healthy environment.
Well,
we would all
I don't know if we all want to see that, but most of us.
Well, I'm saying most.
Those of us that are aware there is something wrong with the environment
we would like
it to be healthier.
We would like to leave the place less toxic than what I found it. That's my personal thing. I would like to not continue the degradation of the planet. I would like to, I think income inequality is something that most folks can say yes. I think maybe we need to address income inequality. I think, and how do we get beyond?
And in that income inequality, I have to point out.
Because that's education, that's poverty. And with poverty, you can't get involved.
And that's another thing that's created such an angst right now is this pandemic gave people time away from their jobs to sit and really look what was going on. And they don't like what they see. And
awareness
you've got
is a
this
bitch.
person telling them to go that way, and you got this person telling them to go that way, and that's where you're divided. Well, here's the problem. This is a free country, and we shouldn't have two political parties.
No. What do you think we should have instead?
I think we should vote on the person and get rid of political parties and
Ranked
get
choice
corporations,
voting.
get money, corporate money out of politics.
Now it's time
Each candidate gets this much money for advertising and running their campaign.
You know the
You
phrase,
can't do it on that, you don't win.
You know the phrase ranked choice voting? Ranked choice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the solution, is that you just take the two most popular people and they move up. And it doesn't matter what party they are. You know, that's if we had ranked choice voting, Bernie Sanders would have ended up being president.
Yes, the ranked choice voting, I think there's only one state that does it. I think it's Maine.
It's happening locally. It's happening in
yeah, but I mean,
states.
Maine is a state, is the only state where
Right.
you vote for your number 1, your number 2, and your number 3.
Exactly.
And everybody votes that way. And then when it comes in, and it's more than 1, 2, or 3 then.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a few more.
That's a part of this push,
Right.
to do the thing. And so I bring up these things outside of things that might be relative to Pride Month, because I think all the various groups who are subjected to what John Trudell calls the industrial reservation, we're all sort of been left on a reservation, and the world is owned by somebody else now. Yeah. And so how do we get our various tribes to agree on the things that affects the various tribes? I know that it's important for your story is talking about the importance of being able to carve a way for somebody like you to have a better start in the world, and that's important. It literally means the difference between life or death for some people.
For a lot.
And how do we have that and also be able to lend ourselves, like with Martin Luther King when he decided we're going to do a poor people's march, and that's just not black against white.
That's what got him killed.
Yes. How do we start talking about poor people? How do we start talking about income inequality and environmental degradation and still keep the fight that's in our heart for our own tribe, and still lend our tribe to the other tribes to keep the division
There was an
at
idea
bay?
that was a main part of politics. Ooh, I think it was around the Bill Clinton time when that campaign was going. And the big debate then was the flat tax.
Right.
If we keep letting corporations not pay their fair share in this country for the sweat off our backs, something's going to give. That fire and that anger, we're already seeing. You've seen the reports. You've seen it all over. The mass rage walkouts, the rage quitting. People, it's not because they were getting more from unemployment. They really weren't.
No.
And if you didn't take the taxes out during that, as one of my friends found out.
Oops.
Ouch.
No, I was so glad I happened to come across that, and also you have to pay taxes on part of this. And I was like,
right. Or if you got that holiday tax thing that happened just toward the last administration. But you had to pay back at the end of the year. But the problem is the people that are making all the money off our hard work are buying $500 million yachts and not paying taxes. Well, unless we get to like a flat tax where they have to, but that's not going to happen if we don't get the money out of there first, because which politician is going to vote for it if they're both being paid by the corporations?
Right. You have to get the black money out of politics. Guys, we're going into a whole nother show
Oh,
right
I
now.
know. I know.
There's like a whole other show.
Yes. Are you familiar with Represent Us, represent.us?
Yes.
Okay.
Jennifer Lawrence did a good video for them.
They have celebrities behind it. That's, if you're not familiar with it, we can put a link in the comments at the end. The Represent Us movement, I think, is one of those things that it doesn't matter what your personal fight or your tribal fight is. That is one of the things that I think we could all agree upon is like, there's some things we could be doing to be having a better time.
Well, yeah, whether you're LGBTQ or you're evangelical or you're somebody else, the one thing we can all recognize is that pay inequality.
Yes.
And that pay inequality goes from racial disparities to gender disparities to sexual disparities to even class disparities.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, I thought the class wars were over.
No.
Maybe they never were.
I'm glad we got.
I think there's a ground for all of us to start on out there.
Yeah,
we all agree that needs to change.
And I think I'm glad we came to that at least at the end of the show. Again, it is a whole other show, but I think it's one of the things that we focus on all the time is like, how do we have a better time with each other?
How do we go from here?
Yeah.
I think.
Thanks for coming on our show.
Oh, and I had a blast. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, good.
I have many intellectual conversations with my friends in my living room, but this first one on
camera live
on a streaming thing.
Right.
Sorry, I'm old school. They're streaming things with key button computers.
I'd like to think...
I learned to type on word processors.
Not a typewriter?
Not a computer either.
Oh.
No, I first learned on a typewriter, but word processors were the new thing in college.
So that's not a computer?
Nope.
Oh.
It's like a typewriter with a memory.
Oh, fun.
All
Interesting.
Right. We're going to be cops.
What?
And we're gonna break up this party.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Hashtag too soon.
We're gonna do the PD Macarena.
Oh god!
Thanks for coming on, and I want to thank everybody in
thanks for having me.
In the streaming zone that participated in the dialogue. We would like to have more participants in the dialogue. That's why we do this. So everybody who is the early subscribers to the program and are participating in the dialogue, thank you very much. We're doing this for you. And we appreciate the courage you give us by participating.
And thanks to the new friends.
It's that new technology. I watch it, but I'm so busy watching it, I forget to ask anything.
That's okay.
Well, you feel free to join in the conversation in the future, and thanks for coming on today's show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
and
you.
I'd like to thank Judy for loaning me. One in Butte is selling
Judy.
bar stools right now for some reason. So, we're going to be talking with Damon Taylor on Thursday about cryptocurrency and all the research he's been doing in crypto. And then Monday, we're going to be stepping into just conversations around how finance has been, the mindsets, like rich dad, poor dad type mindsets, that sort of thing. And then you have
I have a couple of things.
Extra special thoughts that we're not going to get into right now.
We're not going to get into it right now.
Next week is all about finance. And then the week after that is we're going to go back into the drug wars and talk about Nixon's bullshit. And then on Thursday of the next week, it'll be end of the month. We're going to be having Krista Kelly, who's a cannabis chef, and she's going to be talking about her experience in the cannabis industry.
That's a big thing going in California right now. There's actually private cooks that come for parties and do it.
It's not just in California anymore.
So that's our next 2 weeks, and thank you again, Samantha. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, audience. We'll see you on
Thank
Monday
you.
at 5
Yeah.
Montana time.
TTFN.